The Resilience Across Borders podcast is intended for education, support, and inspiration. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer any professional, medical, or health advice. If you are dealing with or suffering from any psychological or medical conditions, please seek help from a qualified health professional. Hello and welcome back to Resilience Across Borders podcast. I'm your host, Rashid Zahidi, and author of the Emojim Journal, which is a guide and workbook to help you get clear and stay focused on your priorities and institute better habits. In today's episode, we will talk about how to reframe fear as fuel. This would be about psychological and somatic tools to turn anxiety into courage and turn it into momentum instead of something that stops us in our tracks. As we all know, fear is often misunderstood as a signal to stop. In reality, obviously when your life is not really threatened because there is real fear and there's perceived fear, and most of what we go through is just perceived fear. So in reality, it's more accurately a signal that something meaningful is at stake. So the people who build, create, lead, and evolve aren't fearless. They have simply learned how to work with fear instead of against it. So reframing fear as fuel is not about suppressing it. It's about interpreting it correctly, regulating it physically, and channeling it productively. So as always, as we like to do here are some powerful psychological and somatic tools to help us do exactly that. So number one is to redefine fear as activation, not danger. At a physiological level, fear and excitement are nearly identical. Increased heart rate, heightened alertness, adrenaline release. The difference lies in interpretation. So instead of thinking, I am nervous, something is wrong, we can reframe that as, my body is preparing me to perform. So for instance, one of the common ones is public speaking. So before a presentation, instead of trying to calm down completely, you can say to yourself, this energy is helping me focus and show up strong. This shifts your nervous system from resistance to cooperation. In other words, you're reminding yourself, I'm not afraid, I'm excited. This is excitement. So another one, say, okay, business risk. When launching, say, a new offer or endeavor or course, recognize the fear as evidence that it matters. Use it as a signal that you're stepping into growth territory. Because obviously, if you don't, one of the fears is like, oh, you know what people are going to say, I'm going to be ridiculed, am I going to be made fun of, etc., etc. But typically that's all in our head. And even if there is a little bit of that, say from trolls or whatnot, there is a saying out there. It's like, if you don't want to be criticized, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. So you kind of have to step out into the arena, right? If you want to do anything significant. And anyways, number two is to use cognitive reframing to change the narrative. So fear is often driven by catastrophic thinking, the mind projecting worst case scenarios. Again, our mind is mostly concerned about our survival. So sometimes that's kind of what it does. It just like thinks of all the worst case scenarios. So cognitive reframing helps you challenge and replace those distortions. So for instance, fear of failure. You may think, if this fails, it means I am not good enough. But we can reframe it and say, okay, if this fails, I gain data, I gain feedback and clarity on my next move, and I will adjust and make my next move. Or say fear of rejection, which paralyzes into doing nothing, whether it has to do with sales or whether it has to do with asking for what we want or meeting our future partner or whatever it is. So if you're always afraid of rejection, you will never try. And when we don't try, you don't get anywhere. So the original thought may say, okay, they may say no. So, but you can reframe it and say, every no moves me closer to alignment and a stronger yes. Because again, you adjust until you find your yes. Number three, Regulate the body first, or some people refer to it as grounding or somatic grounding, basically having to do more focusing on the body. You cannot think your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. When the nervous system is dysregulated, because fear lives in the body, that's where it manifests most and first, then the mind. So before reframing mentally, downshift your physiology. You can do a physiological sigh. Inhale through the nose and then take a second short inhale and then do a long exhale through the mouth. Empty your lungs. And you can repeat this 3 to 5 times. This calms down your body, and this brings you back to the present, brings you back to your body and gets you out of your head. Because sometimes some of these situations, you can't think your way out of them because you will be stuck in loops and it'll just get worse. For instance, before a high stakes call, do this breathing pattern for say 60 seconds and you'll reduce cortisol and regain clarity quickly. So you won't be flooded by cortisol or any other chemicals that just make you stay in fight or flight kind of mode. Or you can also think during emotional overwhelm. And if you're feeling like overflooded with emotions and you're like, it's too much, you step away, place one hand on the chest and one on the stomach, and you can alternate. You can try your left hand on your heart and your or chest and your right one on your stomach, or vice versa, and see which one actually is comforting to you, which one is calming to you, and then slow your breathing and extend the exhale. This signals safety to your nervous system. Number 4, channel fear into action. And you can do this through micro commitments. So fear grows in stillness and shrinks in motion. The goal is not to eliminate fear before acting, but to act while fear is present. Procrastination on a big project. Instead of finish the whole thing, commit to 10 minutes of focused work. One small section completed. Momentum gets you going and reduces fear. Or another example, avoiding, say for instance, outreach or sales. Set a target. Send 3 messages, not 30, okay? So if 30 is overwhelming, you're looking at this mountain and you will not start because it's this big mountain, you don't even know where to start. Just start with 1, 2, 3. This lowers resistance and builds consistency. Number 5, build a relationship with fear instead of ignoring it, trying to suppress it, or pretend that it doesn't exist. Resistance amplifies fear. Acceptance transforms it. When you stop trying to eliminate fear, it loses its grip on you. Obviously, we all have internal dialogue, so try an internal dialogue shift. Instead of, I shouldn't feel this way, you can say, fear is here, and I can still move forward. Number 2, you can do a journaling exercise. You can write, what is this fear trying to protect me from? Is that protection still necessary? You can bring, those fears out into the open, and you can analyze them, look at them, and you'll find that a lot of them are irrational and not relevant at this particular, time or in this particular situation. So is that protection still necessary? This builds awareness and reduces reactivity. It brings that monster out of the dark, and then you see that it's not really threatening, and it's not really something you should fear for your life because of it. Number 6 is use visualization to experience courage. Your brain does not fully distinguish between imagined and real experiences. So visualization allows you to rehearse confidence before execution. So you can do performance rehearsal. Close your eyes and vividly imagine showing up calm, clear, and confident, handling challenges smoothly. Another example is future self-anchoring. Visualize yourself after succeeding. How do you stand? How do you speak? How do you think? Step into that identity before taking action. You can also visualize it as if you are in a movie and you've done all these things and you're at the end here. And how do you look? How do you feel? How do you stand? How do you speak? What's your confidence level? And you step into that role. Number 7, reframe fear as a compass. Fear often points directly toward growth expansion, and purpose. It's usually like a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, you're challenging yourself because you want bigger results. So instead of asking, how do I avoid this? You can ask, what is this trying to move me towards? So for instance, a career transition. Fear may indicate live in comfort and enter in alignment. You may convince yourself that it's the safest to stay where you are when you know that you don't want to be there anymore and you need a change. You need to find something better. You need to move something better, or you need to get aligned with your values or with your goals and your aspirations. You can also, like another example is difficult conversations. So fear signals truth needs to be suppressed or avoided, and the truth is, like, you need to express the truth and you need to set the boundaries, and that's the only way to move forward, and that's the only way to protect yourself and protect your well-being. Number 8 is train your nervous system for courage. Again, it's like healthy exposure. Courage is not a trait, it's a trained response. As with most things, the learning doesn't happen in the thinking and in the avoidance, it happens in the doing. So gradual exposure builds tolerance to discomfort, and it also reinforces that, see, nothing bad happened. I still have my limbs, I'm still okay, everything's still good, right? So start small. Say, for instance, if you want to gain social confidence and you have an issue with that, start with just making eye contact. Say hello to strangers. Build up to deeper interactions. You don't have to jump into those deeper interactions right away, but start with eye contact, or just start with saying hello. Also, like, another example is, if you're afraid of like creating and putting yourself out there and sharing your gift and your talents because you're afraid of visibility. Let's say, okay, in content creation, you can start with posting just once a week, and then maybe a written post of some kind. Then maybe from there progress to video content, and then maybe from there progress to like live sessions. Each step expands your capacity and then builds on the previous. So number 9 is anchor courage in the body. Confidence is not just mental, it's embodied. Your posture, breathing, and movement directly influence how you feel. So when you stand in a certain way with a certain posture, it sends that signal to your body, and then that confidence kind of shows up. Instead of you're hunched over, and if your body is just shrinking and you almost want to disappear, obviously that's not setting you up for confidence or courage. So assume the power posture, stand tall, shoulders back, slow and controlled breathing. And again, hold your breathing and be present with your breathing. So for instance, before entering a room, you can consciously take a notice of this. Adjust like your posture intentionally. Your physiology will influence your psychology. So, or say during stress, slow your movements, speak slightly slower than usual. This also signals control and stability internally. Number 10 is give fear a purpose. Fear without direction becomes anxiety. Fear with direction becomes fuel. And tie your fear to something meaningful. And the best antidote to anxiety is action, taking some kind of action. But also like a purpose reframe. Say, okay, I'm afraid to launch this whatever venture because it could help people. But you can do also responsibility reframe. If I don't act, I stay stuck, and so does my impact. In other words, just this transforms fear into urgency and intention. Give it a direction, give it an action. Instead of spinning the wheels in the head and not getting anywhere, and then the fear grows, and then we're feeding the fear. So instead of feeding the fear, let's feed the action. Let's feed the momentum forward. So when we stay stuck, fear is winning. When we take action, hope is winning. So I'll repeat that. When we stay stuck and don't take any action, then fear is winning. But when we take action, hope and confidence are winning. So fear is not the enemy. It is unchanneled energy. When understood correctly, fear becomes focus. It can become drive. It can become awareness. It can become momentum and fuel. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward even with fear. Move forward skillfully, intentionally, and repeatedly. And if you want to reflect further on this, you can always ask yourself, where is fear showing up in my life right now? Or what might I be trying to move toward, not away from? Or what is one small action I can take today, even with the fear present? So as always, thank you for tuning into the Resilience Across Borders podcast. Please share the podcast. Please review it. Please follow the blog at resilience.com. Follow the social media posts. And remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others and stay resilient.